This is CBC Vancouver News.
One man is dead after Mounties responded to an alleged altercation between two injured people at a hospital in Hope. Now the IIO has been called in to investigate. And choppy travel days ahead.
Customers may want to choose to travel as a foot passenger if that is an option for them.
Why repairs aboard BC Ferries could mean a chaotic long weekend. Plus, as the heat rises, so does frustration.
We will be forever facing escalating crises and extreme weather events.
I'm not sure how the program's going to roll out. It's over 3 years when we're in a climate emergency.
Reaction pours in to new promises of accessible AC. Good evening. Thank you for joining us. I'm Janella Hamilton. Dan is away tonight. One man is dead after Mounties responded to an alleged altercation between two injured people at a hospital in Hope earlier today. Now the Independent Investigations Office has been called in. BC RCMP says the incident started just before noon Wednesday when officers responded to a vehicle collision on Highway 5 near Zopkius off-ramp. Multiple people were taken to Fraser Canyon Hospital with non-life-threatening injuries. While inside the emergency department, two injured people got into an alleged altercation that resulted in paramedics requesting police assistance. One officer fired their gun, and despite receiving immediate medical attention, one man was pronounced dead at the hospital. Fraser Health says the hospital's ER is temporarily shut down while the IIO investigates. In a tweet, BC's health minister says his thoughts are with the patients and staff who witnessed the incident. A repair delay has resulted in BC Ferries cancelling 8 sailings a day between Tsawwassen and Victoria starting today until Monday. The coastal celebration was put into dry dock and was meant to be released by the long weekend, but delays have set that return back. So that means a sailing capacity decrease of around 12,000 passengers each day. Deborah Marshall with BC Ferries says more than 6,600 reservations have already been rebooked on other vessels, leaving very little room for additional vehicles hoping to get a spot on the remaining ferries.
Customers who did not plan ahead and make a booking and they were going to travel as a show and go, those customers will be faced, we believe, with multiple sailing waits at the peak times over the weekend.
BC Ferries is saying if you're trying to get on the route without a booking, you should plan on a lengthy wait and should consider sailing as a walk-on passenger. The company says it's hired extra traffic flaggers and has opened all ticket booths at Swartz Bay and Tsawwassen terminals. They're hoping more staff will help alleviate the expected long lines and sailing waits. The union representing Longshore workers in BC has issued a 72-hour strike notice, saying contract negotiations with the employer have stalled. The International Longshore and Warehouse Union of Canada represents thousands of workers who get cargo on and off ships in BC ports. The union has been bargaining with the BC maritime employers to renew a collective agreement that expired at the end of March. It's seeking higher wages and to guard against the increasing use of automation. Premier David Eby says he's worried about the strike's potential impact.
British Columbians have already seen rising costs on a whole array of different fronts, on food, on essentials, driven by global inflation. Part of this is supply chain disruptions that we've seen, which included challenges at our port and our rail system throughout the pandemic period, and rising costs of shipping goods. To see the potential for a strike to cause even further costs for British Columbians is very concerning to me at a time when British Columbians cannot afford that.
Eby encouraged both sides to sit down and work out a deal. The strike notice means 7,200 workers could walk off the job Saturday morning. Search and rescue teams are looking for a 16-year-old girl who has gone missing while hiking in Golden Ears Provincial Park north of Maple Ridge. Esther Wang was hiking with 3 others when she got separated from her group yesterday afternoon. She's 5'3" with a slim build and long black hair. Wang was hiking the East Canyon Trail and had just left Steve's Lookout. She is wearing black leggings, a black jacket, and a navy blue baseball cap. Anyone with information is asked to call RCMP. BC is launching its online system for booking appointments with pharmacists starting tomorrow. Earlier this month, pharmacists were given the ability to prescribe medications for some minor ailments as well as contraceptives. Our Mira Baines shows us how the new system is hoping to ease a medical crunch.
More big changes for people seeking prescriptions are coming in Thursday morning. Tomorrow, BC will become the first province in Canada to have an online booking system for appointments with pharmacists. It's part of a shift in the province to ease pressure on doctors in the healthcare system. The BC College of Family Physicians estimates nearly 1 million British Columbians have no access to a family doctor.
That's a great question. The announcement today is about making sure that people have access to care in their communities where they are. Not everybody has access to a family doctor. So making sure that if there's a space at your pharmacy, there's a pharmacist available to see you, that your ailment falls within the categories that they're able to assist with, that you're able to be assured that when you show up, there's going to be someone there for you.
Earlier this month, the province empowered pharmacists to prescribe drugs for 21 minor ailments like urinary tract infections, allergies, acne, indigestion, along with contraception.
It will be easier for patients to find a pharmacy and a time for a pharmacist to access them for their cold sore, a rash, an allergy, or even a simple urinary tract infection, rather than going to the emergency department after hours. And they can always walk in to speak with our pharmacist about a minor ailment or a prescription for contraception.
The website goes live tomorrow at gov.bc.ca/see a pharmacist. So far, the province says more than 25,000 people have seen a pharmacist for an assessment. Mira Baines, CBC News, Vancouver.
As Port Coquitlam moves to ban illicit drug use in parks, playgrounds, and civic facilities, Premier David Eby says the province is working to help other municipalities take action.
So one of the areas we're looking at is a potential new law, new legislation in the fall session to support municipalities to make sure that we're sending the message that these community spaces need to be available for everybody. But also recognize the challenging balance and the public health crisis we're in related to addiction, mental health, and the toxic drug supply.
In the beginning of the year, the province decriminalized possession of small amounts of certain illicit drugs. Port Coquitlam's mayor announced yesterday the city is strengthening its bylaws. Brad West says this will allow officers to address instances of drugs being used in places where the public and children gather. For his part, opposition leader Kevin Falcon is eager to get legislation passed.
It needs to happen now. And I've said we're prepared to go right back into the legislature tomorrow if necessary and get this thing done to the benefit of our kids.
Port Coquitlam is just the latest municipality to legislate rules on drug use in parks. Cities on the island as well as in the interior have also introduced new rules. The province is investing more than $1.7 million into a local not-for-profit focused on supporting young people struggling with addiction. The funding is going to Dan's Legacy Foundation. The charity is partnering with BC Children's Hospital to provide 10 therapists, 2 social workers, and 4 outreach workers, offering after-hours on-call support to young people aged 15 to 25. These services are intended to help youth with addictions transition back into the community after treatment. A new report from BC's Seniors Advocate has found the province needs to significantly increase subsidized living units for elderly. The review, spearheaded by Isabel McKenzie, found that despite a 52% increase in funding, the number of publicly subsidized assisted living units has decreased in the past 5 years. The report notes, quote, the lack of growth in publicly assisted living over the past 5 years is already being felt in long-term care.
If anybody out there has had the experience, they will absolutely know. I think what there's an expression, tacking Jello to a wall, trying to figure out, okay, what is my mom getting here? What are we paying for? What's regulated? What cost increases can we expect?
McKenzie is calling for a provincial review to simplify the system, protect seniors' tenancy rights, and increase the number of subsidized units. A small crowd gathered outside Premier David Eby's office today, calling on the province to formulate a BC climate emergency plan.
In its current form, the province's official climate plan, Clean BC, simply does not cut it.
The rally, organized by the group's BC Climate Emergency Campaign and Frack Free BC, saw speakers calling on the government to rapidly divest from fossil fuels and accelerate transitions to zero-emission transportation and buildings.
Main financial commitments have been on emergency resilience and response. All of this is needed, but it is insufficient. If we do not redouble our climate actions to rapidly reduce greenhouse gas emissions and drive them down to zero, we will never get ahead of the curve.
More than 600 British Columbians died during the heat dome in June 2021. It is considered the deadliest weather event in Canadian history. New West residents say they've been left in the dark after the province announced a plan to give out thousands of free air conditioners. The city, which has its own utility company, is currently not included in the rebate. This comes as data from the BC Coroner's Service shows that New Westminster, Chilliwack and Burnaby had the highest rates of death per capita during the 2021 heat dome. New Westminster City Councillor Daniel Fontaine says he is concerned about another hot summer ahead.
It's a lot of older buildings. We're the oldest city west of Winnipeg. A lot of our buildings, our old rental units, they're very hot. A lot of them have no air conditioning. A lot of them are built on hills. We're a very hilly city. And in fact, if you look at where a lot of the individuals died, I'm told that a lot of them passed away in buildings that were on hills, that were facing west, and that were literally the sun was beating down on them for days on end.
BC Hydro expects to install 8,000 air conditioning units over the next 3 years for people who have low incomes and are medically vulnerable to heat. Fontaine says that is not nearly enough, and he is worried about costs associated with operating the units. For years, many Vancouverites have marked Canada Day with the fireworks celebration at Canada Place, but this year the Port of Vancouver has decided to nix the tradition permanently, citing costs. We went to Trout Lake to ask people how they feel knowing the display is done.
It's disappointing, yeah. It's great, brings people together and it's fun and it's great activity. It's a free activity here in Vancouver, which is great.
It's sad, but I think it's probably the best thing for the environment and for the city. Maybe they could look at using drones or something instead. Seeing a lot of cool stuff with that these days.
I've always enjoyed hearing them at night, knowing that there's kids going, ooh, ah. I think there's something special and really beautiful about that. I have a kid on the way and I hope that one day I can enjoy some fireworks with them.
I enjoy seeing the fireworks, but I don't like what it entails and all the negative aspects of it. I did love fireworks when I was a kid, though.
Other BC communities will continue with the Canada Day tradition with fireworks displays in Victoria, Port Coquitlam, Burnaby, and elsewhere. And another big summer event is suddenly hung up. Pop icon Madonna will be postponing her tour, which was slated to start in Vancouver on July 15th. The move comes after the singer developed a serious bacterial infection, which, according to her manager, led to a several-day stay in intensive care. Her team says her health is improving. All commitments will be put on pause, and her tour will be rescheduled. There is no word yet on refunds for tickets. Canadian rock band Nickelback was inducted into the BC Entertainment Hall of Fame today. The honor also includes a shiny new star located on Granville Street, just outside the Commodore Ballroom. CBC's Liam Britton spoke to them this afternoon.
6 Grammy nominations, 12 Juno Awards, 2 American Music Awards. Now, I cannot tell you the name of one person who doesn't like this band, but I can tell you, they are Nickelback.
We love you too. From the first time we showed up here to record a demo in North Vancouver at a recording studio called Crosstown Studios in the summer of 1995, from that moment on, it felt like this province had adopted us. And suddenly we had two provinces that we were from and referred to very affectionately. This is amazing. This is absolutely humbling. It's incredible. Thank you so much. Thank you to everybody who helped us along the way. Thank you for everyone who came to our gigs when there was only 5 people there. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I'll take right next to Michael J. Fox any day of the week.
Hey, Chad.
How are you guys?
How's this feel?
Fantastic. Anytime you're being honored for something like this, it's a great feeling. Very flattering.
Do you have a lot of memories on Granville Street, perhaps some blurry memories?
Mostly blurry. I think everybody, we were just laughing because we're coming out of the Commodore, and someone just turned to me and said, "Isn't it bizarre being here sober?" Like it absolutely is bizarre being here sober.
Great. Congrats, Chad.
Thanks.
It's written in their songs, isn't it, that they were going to get their star on somewhere, and they did it. So yeah, very well deserved.
Something about being together and the spirit that Nickelback brings and the music they bring, it's all incredible.
They're just all jealous. They're all jealous because we are Nickelback fans and they aren't. And deep in their heart, we know that they are fans, but they're not going to be able to say that, right? It's Nickelback. Nickelback fever today, folks. Nickelback fever.
The endangered Vancouver Island marmot is having a moment, making gains after a serious brush with extinction. An update when we return. Thank you for staying with us during our commercial-free live stream. A Newfoundland choir is united by more than just the love of music. The group members are also all cancer survivors. They went on hiatus during COVID, but recently performed their first show back. Troy Turner dropped by one of their recent rehearsals.
The healing power of music. It means more to these singers than most. Each one is joined by a shared experience of being a cancer survivor.
I'm a cancer survivor, 13 years, and I was approached probably about 3 years ago, prior to COVID actually, from Glenn Mullen, a friend of mine, and asked me if I'd like to join. And of course, COVID shut everything down the last 3 years, and when they started back up again a little while ago, I joined.
The choir has 15 members these days, down a little from when it started 22 years ago. Bob Hiscock is enjoying the experience so far.
We get together, lately now once a week, and we have our practices, and it's just a great bit of fun. Just a great bit of fun for the fellowship, and we have a laugh and learning some new songs.
The members acknowledge they're not professionals. It's more about raising money for charity and the camaraderie.
You do put everything into perspective, what really matters and what don't matter, and how you go about your life. And being, like I said, being a survivor, and you start to appreciate a lot of different things in life, You
just sit and you talk about everything that's going on in your lives and your daily life, and family. So it's not that you talk about cancer very much, really.
Lorraine Paddock is 34 years cancer-free. She's a charter member of the choir.
We know we've all been there, done that, and we just go on with our lives and just deal with the everyday living.
Glenn Mullen was asked to direct the choir by a friend. He was not personally affected by the disease, but a year with the group, and things changed.
I conducted the choir practice, and at the end I said I got an announcement to make. I said, today I was diagnosed with leukemia, and everybody in the choir started to laugh. One man came down to me, Art Griffin came down, and he said, it's never as bad as it first seems. So I said, you'll be fine. And sure enough, he was right.
What's different about this choir from Moreland is the audience's reception.
The audience that comes are coming to support a group of cancer survivors. So there's no pressure to be professional and perfect. It's just that we're actually there and showing our joy for music and life that inspires the audience anyway. So it's really, really something to see that dynamic.
Tonight's performance here at the Badger Community Church will be the first in more than 3 years for the Central Cancer Survivors Choir. After that, they'll take a break for summer and then continue with another season beginning in the fall. Troy Turner, CBC News, Badger.
"52 Vancouver Island marmots spent the first year of their lives in Mount Washington's Marmot Recovery Foundation. They'll all be released this year, and 4 were set free today.
It's really exciting for us to get them out into the wild and part of this recovering population of this really incredibly rare and special species.
The Marmot Recovery Foundation first released marmots 20 years ago when there were just 22 of them found in the wild. They were at serious risk of extinction. Now there are more than 200.
One of the most endangered mammal species on the planet, but it has come an incredible distance from where we began. And this is one of the few species where we can really document that without these conservation efforts, this species would be extinct today.
It could take another 20 years before the population can sustain itself. Today marks the start of Eid alAdha, and across the country, celebrations are taking place. This is in Woodbine Park in Toronto, where community members gathered in celebration. Eid is a Muslim festival that marks the end of the annual pilgrimage to Mecca and commemorates the sacrifice of Abraham. Here is a live shot of Canby Street and Vancouver City Hall. Coming up next, Johanna will have your full forecast.
Aiden, look at the little squirrel on that bench.
He's chasing me.
No, he's not. He's wanting to visit.
We're at Beaver Lake, a bit of wilderness in Stanley Park. This man-made lake has drawn wildlife and the people who love it for more than 60 years. And yes, it's only minutes from downtown. But there's trouble in paradise, and it's coming in Technicolor. Water lilies, introduced here in 1937, are slowly choking the lake. Without help, it will die.
Well, you know, 20 years from now, this lake will be completely filled in because that's nature's way of turning it into bogland.
Yeah. The Stanley Park Task Force doesn't want that to happen. Like visitors here, it considered the obvious solution. So what would you do then?
Well, I think I'd look at whatever small amount of dredging needs to be done. I can't imagine that we need to knock down too many trees to get the equipment in.
Knock down trees. No. The task force chose a more novel approach. A moose. 1,500 pounds of munching machine. The task force proposed 2 of them to chow down on Beaver Lake.
The moose channel, naturally they will channel, and they will just go back and forth across a lake and eat the water lilies and basically dig these channels, and they will go back and forth in the same channels over and over again and make the lake deeper.
This sort of thing verges on the ridiculous.
This retired zoology professor says the task force doesn't understand moose.
Moose are what we would term browsers. They're animals that require large territories. They move around great distances.
But the task force would not give them those distances. The plan is to build a 12-foot fence around Beaver Lake.
Oh yes, it would make the area quite inaccessible for a couple of years, but I wonder how many people really use Beaver Lake all that much.
The idea caught regular users by surprise. What do you guys think of putting a moose in here?
A what?
Moose. Moose? Oh, really?
The idea of the moose makes me laugh. I mean, it's humorous to think of, but I don't think it's right for the moose.
I don't know how many moose you'd have to have in here to get rid of them. Probably the whole family. And it would take more than 2 years. And what if they don't like water lilies? What do you do then?
So no to the moose.
No to the moose.
But there are some people who disagree.
You see the moose right out here, and he's eating the lilies. Otherwise, they'll take right over. The moose will keep it down. I think it's a damn good idea.
So will the heron have to make way for a pair of monstrous plant eaters? Stay tuned. For the CBC Evening Moose, I'm Bob Nixon in Vancouver.
Hi, I'm Amy Bell, and here's what's in your CBC Vancouver inbox.
CBC Vancouver is the premier media partner of the 2023 Surrey Fusion Festival, July 22nd and 23rd. Visit the festive cultural pavilions, enjoy free live music and family activities. And the 13th annual Indian Summer Festival takes place July 6th to the 16th. The festival's powerful 10-event lineup speaks to the theme of interdependence. Tickets at indiansummerfest.ca.
The weather update is brought to you by Direct Buy Furnace, installing the most reliable heating and cooling brand. It's hard to stop a train.
Well, Johanna, I am loving all of this sun and heat, but I am in need of a little rain. Are we going to see any precipitation anytime soon?
Janella, these are the correct emotions. And the answer, unfortunately, is not for the South Coast. I know we are getting to that point early in the summer with such extreme drought conditions already in place. Some rain in the forecast would be nice. It really is a tale of two sides of the province. We've got a Pacific system bringing rain to central and northern coastal sections tonight. We have those afternoon thunderstorms once again for the interior. South Coast, though, no rain in the forecast for pretty much as far as I can see out. I am still tracking thunderstorms for both parts of the southern interior back up towards the Peace, the Prince George region. We're going on the fourth day in a row of these pop-up thunderstorms and still looking at poor air quality in the northeast with our big fires up in the northeast. But the fire danger map once again telling the story. The difference between today and yesterday, really starting to see those extreme conditions build in through central BC. Still hanging on to calmer conditions as far as wildfire goes in the southeast because of these thunderstorms. That's going to change very quickly as we head into the weekend. But we do have to get through a couple more afternoons with those pop-up showers. Tomorrow, a slight chance up towards the Peace. It'll be notably drier, though, across the other southern interior for Friday and into your weekend. And then it's just really central BC and north that gets the showers through Saturday and Sunday. So starting this weekend, we're going to watch for conditions to turn really dry again right across southern BC. And temperatures will once again be back up into the low 30s for the weekend. We're actually coming down a touch here on the south coast. 21 for Victoria tomorrow. A few more clouds over your Saturday and Sunday will mean it's a little cooler than where we ended things off today. So you'll notice that drop on Friday, Saturday and Sunday looking seasonal. And then, Janella, we start the hot climb out. We may end up seeing some heat warnings for early next week. I'll keep you posted. Sorry, no rain.
Thank you so much for that bittersweet news.
Bittersweet, yes. You're welcome.
Thanks, Johanna. Marine scientists are excited about the possible sighting of a baby orca near Tofino. The calf appears to be attached to the L pod of the southern resident killer whales. The Center for Whale Research posted photos of the calf on Friday and says the calf appears to be at least 3 weeks old. A marine researcher says the photos show strong evidence a new member of the pod has arrived, adding the last L pod calf was born 2 years ago, and this calf looks much younger.
Killer whale calves have about a 50% mortality rate during their first year of life. So it's definitely, not in the clear yet. It's sort of a cautious optimism at this point. We're excited to see a new little one, but it really needs to thrive over the next year to become, hopefully a future breeding member of the population.
The new calf would bring the L pod's population to 33 and the population of the endangered southern killer whales to 74. That is your late news for this Wednesday. Thank you so much for watching. For news anytime, visit our website, cbc.ca/BC. Your next local news is on the early edition on CBC Radio 1. That starts tomorrow morning at 5:30. Have a great night.